Hi everyone, I'm here today with Ross Willsher, who's very kindly agreed to play 20 questions with me. How are you today?
I'm really good, thank you. Really excited to be here. So
Ex-
yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Where are you in the
Okay.
world and why?
I'm in sunny Chelmsford. That's where I've lived for the past 10 years, specifically in my home office.
And you traverse like a creative photography world and the wedding industry. What do you love about each?
Um, Being creative is great to be able to put your own spin on what you do. For a long time, I worked in jobs that weren't very exciting, or jobs that if I left, somebody could just come straight in and do exactly the same thing. So it didn't matter who was doing it. And I always knew I wanted to do something where actually the end result could only come from me. So, although there's loads of other photographers that don't shoot exactly like me. So that's what I love about that creative side. And the wedding industry is just so joyous. It's based on love. It's based on such a wonderful usually once in a lifetime occasion. So to bring creativity to that sort of love infused focus is brilliant. Yeah.
Why did you start your own company?
Again, it's sort of being able to put my own spin on things, having control of how I come across, what I say, what I bring to the table. And I think for me, if I'm going to have a job that's based on creativity, I then don't want to be producing work from somebody else's brief, if that makes sense. So before I had my own business, I did work for a few other photographers and did sort of shoots representing another photographer's brand or edited somebody else's photos, and it just wasn't for me. I got frustrated at not being able to quite do my own thing and sort of set my own sort of business profile and what I wanted to bring to the table. So yeah, I would struggle to go back to paid employment, and I'm not sure I'd be the easiest employee having now done my own thing and made my own decisions for so long.
Or what is the most rewarding thing about working for yourself?
I think when everything goes well and you get those testimonials, and I've had some really glowing testimonials, to know that it's all come from you. Again, you can get great reviews for the business you work for or your part in the business, but when you've put so much time and effort into customer service and making sure people, the whole client journey, and making sure they feel comfortable and confident and they have a great day, to know that's all come from me, and the effort and the input that I've had on their day, that's probably the most rewarding thing about what I do.
Yourself. What's the most challenging thing?
I think you've got to wear a lot of hats. You got to sort of be almost an expert at so many different things. So I come from a very person-centered career background. So I work with children with special needs. I work with adults with dementia. I did psychology at uni. So I've always sort of worked with people, which is great for being a wedding photographer. But it means I didn't come to the job with marketing experience or social media experience or even finance and accounts. So all those other things I've had to quickly learn, and also sort of remind myself that I'm not an expert. Sometimes you sort of can be a bit, or I can be a bit hard on myself that, oh, I didn't know that, or that seems obvious, but that's not my background. So it's not just about being a great photographer, it's all those other sort of tricks and attributes and skills that you have to learn pretty quickly and keep developing.
Absolutely. Who was your main client base when you were starting up, and has that changed over the years?
Yeah, so I think when I started, it was anyone getting married, anyone that would have me get a bit of experience. I wasn't charging a lot. Obviously, I didn't have a great, massive portfolio to show people. And then as I've sort of developed my skills, done more weddings, I kind of knew the type of weddings that I liked and the type of clients that I clicked with. So I'm very big on inclusivity, or being inclusive, and diversity, and making sure that my brand is inclusive so people can come to my website and see that I shoot all different types of people. So it's not just, I think sometimes sort of wedding media can be very sort of one thing and show couples as just being one sort of look or one sort of gender, and I try and sort of be a voice and represent people that might feel a little bit alienated or a bit underrepresented. So I do a lot of LGBTQ weddings. I make sure there's brides and grooms of all shapes and sizes, and and ethnicities on my website, just so people can look at a portfolio and see themselves represented. I think that's really important and really powerful. And I think that's important with photography. It's all very well looking at a photographer's work and saying how wonderful it is, but if you look closely, are they all just models and people that they're photographing, or actually can you see real people, real emotions, and the photographer has been sensitive enough to capture people at their best. So that's really important to me, and that's who I try and sort of appeal to, is maybe the people that need a little bit more of a helping hand and a little bit of reassurance when they're planning their wedding.
Oh, excellent. And tell me a little bit about who's been a valuable role model in your life.
In terms of a famous person, I look up quite a lot to Andy Murray, just for his hard work, his determination, the fact that so many people write him off, but he carries on doing it. And, that sort of, and obviously sometimes you see it on court that he sort of struggles with, he gets a bit hard on himself, a bit frustrated, and it can get to him, but he still carries on and he's achieved so much. And I remember somebody saying, oh, he's not the best tennis player. He just seems to work harder or be a bit more determined. And I thought, well, that's a great attribute. We're not all naturally the best at something. It's how much we put into it and how hard we're willing to work, really. So he's sort of the first person that springs to mind in terms of work ethic and sort of overcoming obstacles to get to where you want to be.
So how have you spent your time during lockdown?
Different. So obviously the first lockdown, it was dealing with a lot of postponements and inquiries and worried couples. So once I dealt with that, then there seemed to be, certainly on social media, this whole idea of this is the time you can make the most of it and be really productive and achieve more and come out the other side with a better business. And I felt a real pressure to sort of do something, I don't know what, that would revolutionize my business. That seemed to be all the emails I was getting, and all the forums and groups that I was on. There seemed to be this sort of momentum that you should be changing your life in this lockdown, and I found that quite hard, actually. So I did stuff. I did my tax returns about 9 months earlier than I needed to, and sorted my office out and did all stuff with my website and things like that. And then the second lockdown, I think because it was sort of different time of year and it was getting a bit darker and I switched off. I used it as a bit of a chance to just rest a bit more and relax and not be too hard on myself and just get through the winter, for want of a better phrase, really. And then because this lockdown is sort of a new year and it sort of looks a bit more positive and there's some light at the end of the tunnel, I felt much more motivated to work on lots of things, but because I wanted to, not because I felt I had to. So, I've done some courses already this year, and again, been doing some stuff on SEO on my website and marketing, and really sort of getting ready to sort of launch again as well. I've also developed a really close relationship with my Kindle, so I've done lots of reading and chilling out, and I found reading really good, because you have to focus, so you can't suddenly stop and look at social media. Like the telly, you can sort of half watch it, or sort of so reading's been really good to sort of really sort of switch off when needed. And I've been doing my running again, so trying to do sort of a bit of a balance, because the running is quite good mentally, and it also gets rid of the guilt from all the baking that I also do.
So who in your life has been, a rock, a support group, the people who've kept you going?
Primarily my partner. So my partner James, we've lived together for nearly 10 years and been together 13. So that's been great. I would struggle, being on my own, for that. We're not used to being in lockdown together for a whole year without going to work and doing our own thing. So, it's been new and there's been lots to get used to, and there's been challenging moments. But on the whole, it would have been really hard to sort of get through it without him. And my cat, we got a cat just at the start of last lockdown. And he's been great, actually. He's really good as a sort of happy distraction and another little character around the place. So, just the people that I share my house with really has helped. And then, of course, having technology like Zoom that we're on now, to keep in touch with family and friends and things like that. Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of my family since Christmas 2019. So just being able to touch base with them, even though I can't physically see them, that's obviously had a massive impact as well. So yeah.
As a nation, I think we've all become quite obsessed with home working and, building garden sheds. Where am I going to work? How do I work? Just tell me a bit about your current working space and how it works for you.
Yeah, so as I said, I've got a home office here. We've converted a third bedroom, and it was something that sort of developed gradually over time. So when it started, it was sort of a computer in the corner of the room, and there was still a bed in here, and then we got rid of the bed, and then I redecorated. So now it primarily functions as an office, and it's just nice to have a space that's 100% my own, that I can go to, be really focused, but also it's really helped for me that I can shut the door at weekends, so I still get a bit of normality and I can physically step away from that space. So I do feel fortunate that I've got a separate room that I can sort of retreat in and out from, and it means I can do interviews like this or talk to clients, and I don't have to worry about sort of people walking through or being interrupted. Yeah, and it's really nice. Obviously, I've positioned my desk so there's a window, so I've got a view, and I think that makes a real difference as well. Being able to sort of look outward and sort of on your mentality. If I was sort of stuck facing a wall or something, I think it really impacts your how productive you are. Because I think you're there all the time. It has to be, for me, sort of a light, bright space that you want to spend time in, because obviously predominantly you spend a lot of your time in that room. So yeah.
And given the unusual times that we are living in, what is the favourite part of your day?
So I'm quite happy in my office, doing tasks, and that feeling I'm a tick list person. So I do like that part of the day where everything's ticked off and it's done. So probably sort of, I don't know, sort of late afternoon, especially as the days are getting a bit lighter and longer, and yeah, so probably that. I'm not a massive mornings person, unless I'm doing a wedding. Obviously I have to get up early and get to wherever I'm shooting, but yeah, I'm not someone that sort of goes for a walk at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's just not me. So yeah, probably sort of early evening is quite nice for me at the moment, when I've done my work but there's enough time to sort of enjoy a bit of sunlight or a drink in the patio outside or something.
So what words or phrases do you commonly overuse?
Apparently I say actually a lot. Actually, which is usually when I think that somebody's talking a load of rubbish. So it usually precedes a fact or a statement that contradicts somebody's opinion. I think at the moment we live in a time where people have got quite extremes of opinions, and I'm really respectful of people having different opinions, but I do get a little bit annoyed sometimes, I think, when people are basing their opinions on hearsay and not fact. So I think I do say actually as a kind of a fact check, kind of hold up, wait a minute, you got your wires crossed kind of thing. So that's probably my most used phrase at the moment, is actually.
What is the most important lesson that life has taught you?
I think one, you've always got choices, and you have always got an element of control over how your life turns out. So I think life changed for me when I realized that life doesn't happen to you. You can create your own life. So that was an important lesson. But at the same time, I also think there's an element of things happening in their own time. So like when I started my business, I thought everything had to be perfect now, and I had to, be instantly successful, and even now 4 or 5 years since I started, I realized that things happen as they're meant to. So as much as you work hard and create your own success, you also have to have an element of patience and just letting things happen in their own time.
Okay, well, tell me, who would you invite to a dream dinner party?
A dream dinner party, okay. Definitely Michelle Obama. I've read her book recently. I think she's a really interesting person to talk to. She would be great. Stephen Fry, I think, would be really interesting, quite intellectual. Sounds quite heavy duty dinner party, but if I'm going to invite people, they've got to bring some inside information, I think. I would probably also invite Jessie Ware. I don't know if you've heard of Jessie Ware. She's a singer, and she's got her own podcast where she interviews celebrities with her mum, and that's really good fun. So I do love that, and she could entertain us in the evening. So I'd have some intellectual, stimulating conversation, and then we'd have a bit of fun and a sing song afterwards. So yeah, those would be my three ideal guests.
And who would play you in a movie of your life?
Oh, goodness me, that's a tricky one. I'd say someone like Tom Cruise, because when I was younger, people used to say I look like Tom Cruise. I'm not sure that's true. And also, he's the same height as me, so I know he's a shorty like me. So it'd be a little bit more true to life. So we'll go with Tom Cruise.
What makes you laugh, Ross?
My niece makes me laugh. She's got a really good sense of humour. I always laugh at Gogglebox on a Friday night. I think that's brilliant entertainment. And good stand-up. I do like good stand-up. So I love Tom Allen at the moment. He's one of my favourites. So yeah, those sort of things. I'm not very visual. So things like slapstick and stuff like that doesn't really do a lot for me. So yeah.
Is there an embarrassing or funny moment that you can share with us about a wedding shoot that went slightly wrong? You don't have to name names.
I won't name names. I had a best man fall in the canal. That was quite interesting. So it was a few years ago in King's Cross, and originally we'd planned to do group shots across the road, because there was more going on. There was a nice garden there, and we were limited for space at the actual venue outdoors. But it was I think it was the hottest day of the year. So they decided, when I got there, they decided that the family didn't want to sort of trek across the road, because they get all hot and sweaty, and they didn't want to do that, which is fair enough. So at the end of the venue, there was like a bar and a sort of pub that was open to the public, and it was England playing in the World Cup. So it was quite rowdy and quite busy, so we couldn't do anything at that end. And then there was just a long, thin sort of open sort of patio, but again, not enough space front to back to fit loads of people. I couldn't get back further enough to fit them in. So the only place was at the other end where there were no railings. So it was literally patio and then just canal. So I'd lined everyone up, and there was like a young flower girl, and she was fine. But one of the best men was quite short, and he kept jumping up and down to make out that you couldn't see over the top of people's heads. So he jumped up, and then he just disappeared, and he fell in the canal, as in you could not see him, as in his whole head went under. And for a few split seconds, it was the longest 2 seconds of my career, I think. So I was like, oh my God. And then he came out, obviously absolutely drenched, covered in, whatever algae there was. And he was offered the chance to go to one of the groom's houses and change, but no, he said he'd just dry off in the sun. So this poor guy, what he smelled like, I have no idea. Yeah, and I've got a photo. Everyone kept saying, did you get a photo? Did you get a photo? And I thought, no, it looks a little bit insensitive. If he's, disappeared under the canal and we don't know if he's hit his head or anything. But when he did come out, I do have a lovely shot of him absolutely dripping wet. So, yeah, that's the one that always springs to mind. But I think I did get a lovely email the next day saying they're really sorry, really sorry about their best man. If anyone was going to do it, it's going to be that guy. I cope with it really well and really calmly. And actually things like that, if you deal with them, it does give you a lot more confidence going forward. You know that you can deal with whatever happens. So touch wood, that's the last time any best man is going to fall in the canal.
Okay. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would that be and why?
A couple of years ago, I went to Florence for the first time, and I fell in love with Florence. I just thought it was so beautiful. We did a little tour of Italy, so we did Rome, Florence and Venice, and they were all lovely, but there was just something about Florence, and I can't really explain why, but I just fell in love with sort of the vibe, and the weather was beautiful, and the locals were lovely. So there, or I'm originally from the Cotswolds, so I do love the Cotswolds, and nature and countryside and things like that. So maybe one day I'll go back there. But I'm very happy in Chelmsford, and I love being sort of, you know, right on the edge of London, and I love sort of going into London for the day. So I quite like where I am. It's sort of the best of everything at the moment.
Great. If you could edit your past, what would you change?
I don't think there's anything that I would necessarily remove. I would probably put in a little bit more confidence and a little bit more self-belief earlier on, because you know, you don't realize how key those are to success, especially when you've got your own business. So there's little things that I've sort of done that I think, why didn't I do that a year ago, 2 years ago? You know, it's made a huge impact in me. Just sort of take a leap of faith a little bit sooner with certain things, I think.
Last question. What are you most looking forward to when lockdown finishes?
A big hug with my family, I think. Yeah, I think. And then apart from that, going to like cinemas and theatres and concerts and things like that. I think you don't realise, you know, you see them as sort of luxuries or sort of nice little add-ons, but you don't realise how important they are to quality of life and well-being, and just, you know, having that work-life balance as well. So yeah, all those fabulous sort of social events that we've been missing out on, definitely.
Oh, well, thank you for playing 20 questions with me. That didn't hurt too much, did it?
No, not at all. That was really good fun.
It's really nice to get to know you better, and I hope that I see you very, very soon out there in the real world.
Me too. Fingers crossed. It's looking brighter.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.